What's going on? This is Shango Ray, aka Real Deal Ray. How are you doing? Hopefully well. So the title of this video is how an egregor can help you ball out. So before we get started, like, share, subscribe, and thrive. Like, share, subscribe, and thrive. And if I forgot to mention, like, share, subscribe, and thrive in that order, the order of operations. This video is brought to you by the brand new membership site, the Sorcerer's Corner, and the Power Cash Infusion Ritual, Financial Independence Day, which is taking place on July 4th. The doors to join the ritual close on June 30th. So if you haven't joined, join now, okay? Trust me. Part of this ritual is we will be deploying, birthing our own money god, aka an egregor. So let's get into it. An egregor is a term derived from a Greek word meaning to be aware of or to watch over. Now, if you don't know, you have been affected by egregors all this time. That's right. Yes, you have. Every country has an egregor over it. Yeah. And then, have you ever seen one of them, crime documentaries, like about the mob? And then they show the Don, and then underneath the Don is the generals. And underneath the generals, you got the captains. And then underneath the captains, you got the capos, and then you have the soldiers, right? Much in the same way, that's another reason why, besides obvious other physical reasons and locations and things like that, but you notice every location has its own feel to it, I remember having a conversation with my brother King Cook years back in some group about they're also kind of called oversouls too, but how you got an oversoul or an egregor that watches over a particular country. And then you have, let's just say, take the United States, for example. Every state has an egregor over it. And if you want to go deeper than that, then you have different cities. Every city has an egregor over it. And then below that, you have egregors that are over certain parts of town, even down to like certain blocks. There's an egregor over every gang. There's an egregor over every religion. Every religion is based on a particular kind of egregor. If you think there's only one Jesus Christ, you're sadly mistaken. There's a bunch of different versions of Jesus Christ. You have the Southern Baptist Jesus Christ. You have the Protestant Jesus Christ. You have the Jehovah's Witness Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Allah. Because egregors change and are manipulated by the members of the group which created it. So with everything on this plane, eventually it gets fractured. Okay? For example, first you had like Christianity, and then from Christianity, you started having different sects of Christianity and so forth. Just like with Islam, it started with just one particular way, and then it split off and fractured into different sects of Islam. You know what I'm saying? As long as man is involved, there's going to be some type of split. Just like with every gang. And depending on the location, you got more bloods killing bloods than anything now. You got more Crips going against Crips now than anything now, you know, and so forth. So eventually someone, and you notice like even within a particular group, over time you'll start seeing that these members hang together more, and then these members start hanging. So then it's like eventually, and if something ends up happening, now there's a split, and now you have two different factions of what was once one ideal. And speaking of ideals, an egregor is created as an ideal and focus. It's a focal point. An egregor should be a tool used by its members, but in most cases, the egregor is using the members, or, you know, it can get out of hand. So an egregor is created as an ideal and focus, and then utilized by the members of the group or order whose ideals the egregor reflects. So if we're talking about the money god, I've spoke about how, you know, rapid cash rituals and things of that nature are great. But there comes a point where I feel because let's just face it, many of us are addicted to our traumas, our struggles, our story, right? Many of us even view ourselves, I know I did for a long, long time, view ourselves as like the underdog. Well, if you view yourself as the underdog, then subconsciously you must put yourself in situations where you are the underdog, whether you are, you know, the struggling underdog, or whether, you know, however that goes. And as far as egregors go, and it's like using the example of, you know, I just termed it this is just a nickname, this is not the actual name, but like the money god, to me, in my vision of what I would want for everyone, is true financial liberation. Liberation from those familiar spirits, beliefs, traumas that keep creating the lack. Because what happens is, let's say you do some type of ritual for money, right? And many of you have, right? And it comes through. And it's like a little high. It's like you get to bust a little nut. You get that money, but then afterwards, it goes. And you're back to needing another fix. I believe, I know that if there is an answer for that, it resides in us individually, in relinquishing our addiction to that trauma, those struggles, whatever those elements are in you that keep creating those same circumstances, even if you get a break from it, okay? I was reminded of, before I made this video, I just got this like, right? It's similar to when I used to be a street pharmacist, you know, and I remember I would see certain individuals coming around the corner on the block, nice car. They obviously make way more than me. They probably have a house. They have all this shit that I didn't have. And here I am taking penitentiary chances every day. And yet here they are coming to me, you know, for what I got. And next thing you know, that nice shiny car and all that shit starts looking more raggedy. And then a little bit later, they're coming by in a cab. Yo, man, where's your car? And eventually, they come by on foot. And you'll notice over time, it always happens this way. Over time, first they're spending big money, and a little bit smaller, you know, and then eventually, you know, they're coming by asking for credit. And then below that, of course, obviously, is they're not paying their bills, which in the street culture leads to other things, because if you're a street pharmacist, you can't have people coming by just taking your shit and not paying, you know. But what I really thought about in connection with a lot of our relationships with wealth, with money, with abundance and all that, is some of these people would actually do good for a while. Maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? They'd be doing great, back on top. And for some reason, maybe they had a bad day, maybe their mom died, maybe they found out their spouse was cheating or whatever, something. They go out and have a drink. Next thing you know, on their way home, they pass by the block or the street that leads to the block, and they find themselves turning the steering wheel, and next thing you know, and sometimes some of these individuals would crash and burn, but somehow they would get back up. Very, very few would be stronger because of it. You know, most would, because it gets hard, like, especially if you fell and fell and fell and fell and fell, and you finally got your shit together and were able to maintain it for several years, and then you crash and burn again, because them familiar spirits, and yes, even egregors that are over, like I said, certain areas, certain things, they have an allure. They can call, you know, and next thing you know, you're back. You ended up unconsciously doing some necromancy and raising from the dead that old you that you thought was gone, but it's not. And this is not a video about all of that necessarily. I have spoke on familiar spirits before and how that's some real shit, you know. But an egregor, when properly executed, is a tool to be used by its members. And it is a tool used in a way. So for example, as far as this like different, okay, like I said, I don't want to get ahead of my mashing my words up, because I'm like I'm excited about this shit, but as I mentioned, my ideal and vision, and everyone is going to get a chance to, you know, contribute and of course utilize this, is to finally be free at a root level of those things that causes that. So what if this egregor also embodied, you know, different aspects of, you know, financial wisdom? Okay, because how many times if you did a spell and got money, that shit's probably gone quicker than it came, or any other way. Look at the stimmies. But not only that, a whole paradigm, a whole new paradigm based on your own personal experience and revelations about your relationship to this energy we call money, we call wealth, to this state of being that seems so foreign, seems like something that we think of and not from. What if we could remove the veil from that? And yes, also begin the process of, you know, healing certain things that need to be healed, so we don't have to keep going through the same fucking merry-go-round. You know what I'm saying? In whatever way that merry-go-round seems to crystallize or appear in your experience. Because I'm sure each and every one of us has different experiences, but there is a commonality there. The egregor becomes a focus for what is known as ego magic, the work of integrating and transforming the facets of the personality in accord with the particular set of aims. And as I mentioned, one of the aims that I can publicly say is that liberation, because there's an old occult adage that when you need nothing, you can get everything, you know? And you know it more than I do. When you really need something, that's the one fucking thing that seems to be like a needle in a haystack, hard to find. And if you look back at certain times where you really needed something, I pretty much can guarantee you there was a moment where either you just surrendered to the fact, because your mind, you finally blew your circuits as far as trying to figure out how and all this, like, you know, depending on the situation or whatever. But more than likely, even if just for a little while you took your observation, your awareness, right? What I'm observing, what I'm paying attention to, right? I took it off, or you took it off the problem, right? Because the problem is at one level here. Let's just say this is a level of thinking. So there's only certain kind of thoughts that can come from this level here, this particular vantage point. Okay, let's just say if this is a building, right? First floor, second floor, third floor, right? And this is the level of the problem. We all have heard of Albert Einstein. I think it was Albert Einstein. Somebody fucking said, I don't know, whatever. As far as, you know, the same level of mind that created the problem, you can't expect to get an answer from that level of mind. And in this case, this particular level of mind, right? Scarcity, lack, emergency, some type of emergency situation, whatever have you, as it relates to your finances, is also created by this thing we walk around in called the body. This body is a fucking animal. It's also why a lot of the symbology in like the zodiac, you'll see like half man, half this, or this animals. It's reflective of our animal nature. What the animal nature, what does that have to do with? You know, survival, right? Survival. Looking out for danger in the environment. Fighting, eating, and fucking. And that's it. That's it. And the problem, the challenge, is that this brain of ours, yes, it influences the body, but the body influences the mind. And there are certain triggers and anchors in your environment that will trigger certain thoughts, you know, or unconsciously these thoughts are already triggered, which is why when you become aware of it, you just become aware of this feeling all of a sudden that you have, or maybe you were feeling a certain way and now you're feeling another way. Because this, for most humans, runs the show. And it is why we are able to be controlled like fucking sheep. Because those in power know how to use certain technologies to activate, you know, certain centers of your brain, which has a direct correlate and almost instantaneous effect on certain areas of your body, which end up riling up the animal. That's why they also say meditation is so important and stuff, because you have to calm this fucking thing down to the point where you can rise above this and create from that point. Because the animal is not going to get it as far as a creator You must run the animal. So the egregor also acts as like a shadow self. These ideals, these set of aims, these, for all intents and purposes, states of being that you can tap into as, and assist you, of course, with external results. But once again, let's move past external results because they are very temporal. It's kind of like goals in a way, right? If you're very, very goal oriented, and you put all your energy and you bust that nut on this one particular goal. Okay, so you get the goal. A lot of people, they have a goal that maybe took them for a long time and they finally get it. And it's almost bittersweet because now they're like, okay, I got it, but getting it didn't do for me what I thought it would. So where do I go from here now? Set another one? Okay, and it's like band-aids after band-aids, quick fixes after quick fixes. So the egregor also represents an aspect of a shadow self. Now, shadow self does not mean anything positive or negative. It's just the shadow self, through which the group or members can draw upon the power of the egregor by seeking to express those qualities individually. You, right? Now, the way that these can manifest and transpire are infinite, damn near, pretty much, down to each individual. Maybe for you, your idea of financial liberation and independence, maybe that also involves like a particular kind of job or career. Hey, knock yourself out. You can make it so. Maybe your ideal as far as for you and how it concerns with you and your life is more of one of entrepreneurship. I'm my own boss, I want to run my own thing. Maybe it's not even so much about a business because, quite frankly, who's to say that you don't get some type of divine inspiration and invent something? And somebody says, hey, I can use that for all this and that. Instead of just giving this idea that hopefully you protect it or patent it. But now you're like, you know what? I'm just going to license it out. One idea. So you're like, I don't want to run a business around this. I'd rather just license this out. Now you got fucking income streams coming up the wazoo from all over because people are like, yo, I seen on Shark Tank years ago this guy who invented a pretty dope folding guitar. And the thing about it is, I believe, it folds up, but when you unfold it, it stays in tune also. You don't have to keep tuning it and shit. And one of the guys on the Shark Tank was like, he wanted to go into business making these folding guitars. Okay, that's one level of mind. But then you had the billionaire on the show. And the billionaire is like, look, I get it. You want to have a business and all this shit. But I'm thinking better. I'll invest in your shit if instead of you making a business out of this folding guitar as your partner, all you got to do is sit back and collect checks. You dig? Because I'm going to make sure, because a lot of these different guitar companies would want this technology, would want this patent. So that's just an example of different levels, different ideas from different levels of mind. Anything is possible here. Like I said, we're breaking through, we're busting through the fucking veil. Internally, solo, first and foremost, because it starts with you, okay? No egregor is going to do the whole fucking enchilada of work for you. Just like Jesus ain't going to fucking come down here and work a job and pay all your bills for you. And Allah's not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Oshun's not going to do it. Papa Legba's not going to do it. Zeus ain't going to do it. We have our own part to play, of course, in our own movies. This is your movie. Do you want this to be a straight to red box shit? Or is this a fucking A-list theatrical release? I don't know. Only you can answer that. But what we're doing here is providing the tools that will not only assist, but enhance what you're doing. So, in short, that is how an egregor can help you ball the fuck out. If it's properly constructed, and it has to be properly managed too. I mean, you can go start your own with somebody, but you also have to make sure certain things are in place because, for example, everybody has their own bullshit, right? So you have to have things in place to whereas we don't want none of everybody's bullshit because much like in the computer world, if you're making a program, there's an old computer programming adage that says garbage in, garbage out. You know, when you're initially doing the program, garbage in, and then when it's functioning, garbage out. So we're going to avoid that here. Okay, I don't know about anywhere else. I don't know about whatever else you may be doing. I can tell you this, that this egregor is also here to help you in your own, of course. Like I said, what good is it if it doesn't serve the individual, you know, in your own individual pursuits and whatever other workings that you may have? It's like getting on the line and calling for backup. You know, there's been a lot of studies on how people have reduced crime rates by way of meditation at the same time in particular cities and stuff like that. And I forgot what study it was, but it's basically, I mean, they didn't call it that, but it's basically like they created an egregor. And I'm not sure what the stats are after that because, you know, you want to keep a momentum going. The Taoist sorcerers, and I've seen this too, it goes also in a lot of different traditions, but also like, especially in Palo Mayombe, when you're talking about an nganga, you know, when a Tata has an nganga, which is the cauldron, which is like the focal point of his magic as far as physically, this physical vessel, right? When you get a new nganga, let's say you're coming up, a traditional part of that is you have your nganga, which is carefully and precisely constructed, be with the old nganga. And then it's buried. But there's a transference. There's a lineage. The Taoist sorcerers, they have different sects, you know, and schools and groups, but each one of them has a lineage in which their members, groups, or, you know, whether they become solo, just regular solo Taoist sorcerers or whatever, there's still that lineage though, that momentum. And it is in essence like a hedge fund in a way. It just keeps going. So opposed from starting from scratch, there's this lineage now that they can tap into, you know, of power, this current of power. that is exclusive to them and either their members or that particular lineage. And I see a very stark similarities as far as in that way, but I'm sure if you research other cultures, other indigenous, cultures and their forms of magic, I'm pretty sure you'll find similar things to that. But that is also one of the things here is, in essence, as far as a lineage, if you will, for this power to keep working and keep going. You know what I'm saying? And that may be putting the cart in front of the horse or whatever, but, that is still in there. But a lineage can be, contacted, contracted, and tapped into now. So a lineage starts somewhere. Everything has a start. Everything has a beginning. It hasn't just always existed. None of them were, right? So much in the same way. So that's what we're doing. Now, there's two different ways you can get in on this. As I mentioned before, you can either just join the ritual itself, or you can be a smart god or goddess and join the Sorcerer's Corner, okay? A gold alchemist level membership or above, and you get access to all these, these are what are called public rituals, because there's other rituals that we're doing that are never going to be mentioned in public because they're not going to be, it's not in the public. It's not about that. It's about, involving the members, or if members have a need or even a want, then we can get some business done. And so those are just one of the benefits of joining the Sorcerer's Corner. But, there's a whole lot more. We got tools for days that you may need. I say tools, but I also say weapons interchangeably because, you might need a ritual for this. You might need a ritual for that. And like I said, we got the stockpile. Come in the garage, choose your weapon. All right, just make sure you bring it back. You know what I'm saying? Clean it off, after you do what you got to do. You know what I mean? But so that's how you can get down with this. This is the type of technology that we are on here and that we are utilizing for this Power Cash Infusion Ritual Financial Independence Day, because we are taking full advantage of this 4th of July energy. Now, there's many groups of people here in the United States who this 4th of July was never meant to benefit. Okay? I don't want to get all political and shit, but you know what I'm talking about. And it's time to take what's ours, which is this energy. No one has the copyright on the energy. No one has the fucking, it's there. And to leave it on the cutting room floor would be a travesty. So join the Sorcerer's Corner, or at the very least, take part in this ritual. There will be more rituals involving this particular money god Egregor. So this is the time to get in. This is the time to get in. And yes, mystical experiences will abound. The money god will talk. Peace.